My husband got my client pregnant, so I got pregnant for another man. Story time. I married my husband when he was not so stable, but because I come from a very stable home, my parents decided to give us a house that we could move in together. Let me set the scene for you. In my family, when one of us gets married, my parents usually give us a house because this is a new couple trying to start life. So they give us a house to help support ourselves. And luckily, my husband wasn't so stable when we got married. So my parents gave us a house within Lusaka to live in. The house was handed to us both, but on paper, the house is mine. As a bachelor, my husband lived in a bedsitter, but obviously, this is not very convenient for a couple. So since my parents gave us a house, the plan was to move. All that my husband and I needed to do in this house was furnish it because everything was completely done. When we were being given the house, my husband was very agreeable of this idea and nothing seemed to be the problem. Before we got engaged, my husband usually said jokingly that he would rather we stay in our separate places. We looked for a house for me to live in because I was living with my parents before marriage, and then he would continue living where he was living. For me, we would always laugh about it. It never came up as a serious conversation, so I assumed these were jokes. But then when my parents gave us this house, after the marriage, my husband told me he prefers continuing to stay where he was staying, in the bedsitter, and I should live in the house that my parents have given me. He clearly said, it's your house, because if it was ours, my names would be on it, meaning his names. So I told him, obviously, his names are not on it because it's from my parents, and anything can happen. Marriage is not final. But as long as we are still a couple, the house belongs to both of us. So he said he wasn't comfortable with that, and he preferred that he continues to live where he was, and I moved into the house that my parents gave us. Genuinely thought this conversation was under the rugs until he brought it up again when we were supposed to move. He suggested that he need to live in the house that my parents have given to us and he would continue living where he was. Bear in mind, we're both in Lusaka. So for me, this didn't make much sense. Why are we still living separately when we are married? So he said, no, just live in your parents' house because it would be easier for me to see you that way, but we'll live in our separate homes. This was a very weird request from my husband, and I didn't know how to tell my parents. So for me, I assumed it's the fact that he wasn't comfortable with the fact that the house was in my name, because he mentioned it initially saying if it was our house, it would have been in his name as well. So I went to my parents and asked them if it was okay for me to put the house in both of our names so that it could make him comfortable. My parents said it was my house and I could do whatever I pleased. However, I didn't immediately change the names on the title deed after my parents approved because I wanted to see if my husband could also compromise because this is my property and I was also trying to protect my own interests. So the few months that I was still trying to decide whether to change the title or not, I started living in the house that my parents had given me. And as the marriage was surviving actually. He used to come by almost every day. He would eat at my place and then he would go and sleep at his house. But obviously, society was already questioning what was going on. So it was making me uncomfortable and I decided to give it a thought and change the names on the title deed. This was approximately a year after marriage. In that 1 year that I had lived alone, I established my own business, became a hairstylist because the house was big, so part of it became a salon. At the time that the title was changing and everything, people had already known my new location. Initially, I used to do this at my parents' house, but now that I had my own house, the salon was now at home. When this process was done, my husband finally decided to move in with me and we started to live together. His behavior became very weird after this. My husband started to host house parties in our house with or without my consent, whether I was around or not, whether I knew about these parties or not. And this used to happen so frequently. And after those parties, most of the people at the party would actually sleep over. Remember, this was a big house. It was about a 4-bedroom house. So most of the people would actually sleep over. No matter what I said, my husband didn't listen. Whether I was around or not, my husband would host parties and people would really party. There would be music and we started getting into problems with the neighbors. Because I also had a saloon in the same house, this started disturbing my line of work. My clients would be there and there would be loud music playing. And because mostly I deal with brides love to be in a quiet place because obviously